In this video session, we're going to do several homework problems from section 5.2, the integers. Let's go ahead and start with question number 1. We're supposed to compare negative 18 to a negative 3. Now notice, on your number line, you have 0 in the middle, the positives go to the right, and the negatives go to the left. Negative 3 would be right about here, whereas negative 18 would be way out over here, right? It would be way to the left. The numbers to the left are less than the numbers to the right. Notice the less than symbol points to the arrow. So in this case, negative 18 is less than a negative 3. Four compared to negative 2, we have, this is problem number 2, 4 is positive, right? So 4 is definitely greater than negative 2. Any positive is greater than the negative. Negative 2, again, negative 2 is to the left of negative 1, so negative 2 is less than negative 1. Negative 4 is to the left of 0, so negative 4 is less than 0. And negative 4 would be somewhere about right here. Negative 6 would be to the left, right? It would go that way. So negative 4 is actually greater than a negative 6. Remember, the number to the left is less than, or the number to the right is greater than a number to the left. So those would be those 4 answers for that problem. Four is greater than negative 2. Negative 2 is less than negative 1. Negative 4 is less than 0. And negative 4 is greater than negative 6. Let's look at problem number 3, negative 7 plus negative 3. Now, the rule is when you have two negatives, you simply add them together and your answer is negative. So negative 7 plus negative 3, you would just take 7 plus 3, which is 10, but they're both negative, so the answer is negative 10. So two negatives, add them together, and your answer is negative. Now, you can also do all these problems on your calculator. So let's go ahead first, put in our correct answer. And on the calculator, okay, using the calculator, the negative sign is below, to indicate a negative number, it is below the 3 key, right there. The negative sign is there, and to indicate subtraction, you're going to use this key. So that's subtraction. This key is for the negative, okay? So you got to have it correct or you'll get an error message. So for the calculator, to input this problem, you will go ahead and put the negative, the negative 7, so we use the negative below the 3, 7. Then we have an addition sign, and then a negative 3. You don't have to put it in parentheses, but if you want to, you can. Let me go back, just to have it the same. Okay, negative 7 plus, in parentheses, negative 3. And there's our correct answer, negative 10, which is what we got when we did it pencil and paper. 14 plus negative 6. Again, you can do this on your calculator. If you do it pencil and paper, when you have one number's positive, 14's positive, and one number's negative, you just take the two numbers, you subtract the bigger absolute value. 14 minus 6 is 8. So your answer, and then your answer is the sign of the bigger number. 14 is nothing is there, it's automatically positive, so the 8 is positive. Again, you don't have to do all these rules you can just simply use your calculator. So again, on this one, inputting it into the calculator, we can go ahead and put in 14. When it's positive, we don't need to put in anything. There's a plus, and then actually you don't have to put in the parentheses. There's the negative sign below the 3 for 6, right? Because it's indicating a negative 6, and hit answer, and there's our correct answer, 8, which is what we got when we did it paper and pencil. All right, 2 plus negative 2, 2 plus, and then the negative 2, they're going to cancel each other out, right? 2 minus 2 is 0, so the answer is 0. Number 6, 5 minus a negative 5. Now again, we can use our calculator, but if we do it paper and pencil, the rule is 5, or by hand, minus a negative 5. You change subtraction to addition, and then you take the opposite sign. So the subtraction becomes addition. The negative 5 becomes a positive 5. So you would end up with 5 plus 5, which is equal to 10. Again, you add the opposite. So it would be plus a positive, so 5 plus 5 is 10. Now, you can do it on your calculator, and you don't even have to change from addition to subtraction. You can simply put in 5. Now again, the first one is a subtraction, right? Subtraction is in the gray below the multiplication, so it's 5 minus, and then the negative 5 you indicate with the key below the 3, 5, and then hit, and there it is, 5 minus a negative 5, and there's our correct answer, which is a positive 10. Same answer we got paper and pencil. So again, you can use your calculator to do all of these problems. You don't have to do them paper and pencil. Negative 7 minus a negative 2. If you did it pencil and paper, it would be negative 7 minus a negative 2 would be negative 7 plus a positive 2, right? Add the opposite. And then the two signs are different, so you subtract, and you would get 5, and the sign of the larger absolute value is with the 7, so your answer is negative 5. Now again, we can do this on our calculator. You can simply put in your, as it is, you don't even have to change to subtraction. So we have first a negative 7, negatives below the 3, then we have a subtraction, and then we have a negative 2, and hit enter, and we got our answer of negative 5, same answer we got when we did it by hand. Okay, 6 times a negative 2. The rules for multiplication is when one number is positive and one number is negative, when you multiply, you get a negative. When they're both positive or both negative, you get a positive. So 6 times 2 is 12, but then one number is positive, right? The 6 is positive, the 2 is negative, so my answer is a negative 12. A positive times a negative is a negative. And then if they're both negative, a negative times a negative is a positive, and of course a positive times a positive is a positive. Now you can do this on your calculator. 6, and actually if you put in a parentheses, the calculator automatically knows it's multiplication. You can put in a multiplication 2 and you'll get it correct. Negative 2 in parentheses, and there's our answer, which is a negative 12, which is what we got paper and pencil. Negative 7 times negative 5. Again, a negative times a negative is a positive, right? So it'll be a positive 35. If we do it on our calculator, we can have a negative 7 in parentheses, and then if it's a multiplication, you don't have to use the multiplication symbol. It'll automatically do multiplication. Negative 5 in parentheses, and we get our answer of positive 35. Negative times a negative is a positive. 0 times a negative 16, you know that what? 0 times any number is equal to 0, whether it's positive or negative. Again, you can do it on your calculator. 0 times a negative 16, and our answer, of course, is 0. Four squared. Now, this 2 is called an exponent because it's up above the 4, right? You take the 4 is called the base. You take the base and you multiply it by itself the number of times in the exponent. Since the exponent is 2, you would take 4 times 4 and you would get 16. So now the 4 is the base, the 2 is the exponent. The base times itself the number of times in the exponent. This also can be done on the calculator. You put in 4, and then you hit your up arrow key or your x squared, and that'll automatically square it. So if you hit x squared, it's going to do 4 squared, and you get the correct answer, which is 16. Or you can do 4. The exponent is the up arrow key below the key, in between the division and the clear, right there. So you hit that key right there. It puts it into moves it for an exponent. Then you put in the exponent 2. You hit the right arrow to get out of the exponent. Hit enter, and there's your answer, 16. All right, number 12, negative 1 squared. Again, negative 1 is in the base, so we have a negative 1 squared. So the negative 1 is multiplied by itself twice. And remember, a negative times a negative is a positive. 1 times negative 1, 1 times 1 is 1. So the correct answer is actually a positive 1. We can do this on our calculator. When the base is negative, you have to use a parentheses around the negative sign. So you would put in negative 1 in parentheses, and then the exponent above the division to the second power, and hit enter, and there's our correct answer, which is a positive 1. Negative 3 to the third power. If we do this by hand, negative 3 to the third power is negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3, because the exponent is 3, right? So 3 times itself. Negative 3 times negative 3 is a positive 9, and then a positive 9 times a negative 3 is actually a negative number, right? Negative 27. We can do this on our calculator. The base is negative, so it needs to be put in parentheses. The negative is below the 3. And then we go ahead. Now this time we have to the third power, so we must use the exponent key, which is above the division, the third power, and we get same answers. We got pencil and paper, a negative 27. We're going to go ahead and stop here at this point in this video. If you have any questions, please email me at tswiersz@hodges.edu, or call me at my office, 239-938-7805. Thank you.